everyone. Monday night and a rare night off for the Canadiens from Amazon Prime. And they almost took the night off on the ice as they came away with a 4-3 overtime win against the Buffalo Sabres to make it 5 victories in a row coming out of the Four Nations Cup. Tough road trip coming up and a really bad couple of periods to finish this one off. We'll drop the puck on Montreal Hockey Talk. Hey everyone, Costa here for Montreal Hockey Talk. And before we get into the nuts and bolts of today's hockey game, I just need to send my condolences out to the family of Mike Sabres, who lost him yesterday in the afternoon. Mike is, of course, the cousin of former Habs Benoit Pouliot, whose mother I used to work with. And so to Diane, Doug, and the Sabres family, Richard, Mike's father, and Mick, Mike's youngest son, I'm thinking of you, man. I love you, and I'll wish you heartfelt condolences. Now, let's talk about tonight's hockey game. Mike Matheson scores in overtime. The Canadiens win their 5th straight game, but holy hell did it look ugly. And before somebody else turns around and says that I don't know my hockey, like was in the comments of the last show, which I really appreciated, by the way. Get that hint of sarcasm. Let's just put it out there. The Canadiens did not play a very good hockey game tonight. They came out strong, and they seem to be handling the physicality that the Sabres tried to bring to the table quite well with a couple of power play goals and a shorty in the first period. Shots were pretty even. I think there were 10-9 right, as I look. Where are we? 9-8 in favor of Buffalo in that first period, excuse me. And then the Canadiens decided to take 2 periods off. Not much as far as offense is concerned, and pretty much skating around with their tails between their legs. And it's not the way you want to go into a long road trip. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Why is it that the Canadiens were so bad tonight? You've got a 3-0 lead after the first period of play. You know, guys are smiling. Guys are happy. What, did you take the afternoon off and think, you know what, I'm going to save some of my energy for the road trip? I don't understand. You know, I know that Buffalo was playing a very physical game, and all Buffalo was trying to do in the last couple of periods was pressure the Montreal Canadiens and get under their skin, trying to get them to take bad penalties. You may not think it's great, but it's a viable strategy. It happens all the time in the National Hockey League. Different teams, you know, you take a look back in the 70s, that's what the Broad Street Bullies were all about. They had a talented team, and all they did was try to rough you up and scare the crap out of you so that you would be submissive and they'd be able to beat on you nonstop. That's kind of what it looked like tonight for the Canadiens. It wasn't so much the fact that they outplayed Buffalo, because they didn't. It was actually Buffalo that outplayed Montreal. And Buffalo, being as abysmal a team as they are, you know, you got to give credit where credit's due. Whether it's Tage Thompson, Peterka, I mean, you can even give credit to James Reimer for waking up after the first period of play, because he did let in a couple of softies early on. But by and large, I mean, the Sabres don't have a lot. And, you know, the one guy that you have to credit with leading this team, for the Buffalo Sabres, that is Dahlin, their captain. I mean, sure, he took a couple of bad penalties, but his team picked him up and killed him off for the most part, and he was a physical presence. He was always in the Canadiens' faces, and he scored the tying goal late in the third period. What more do you want from a guy wearing a C on your shirt? Well, Canadiens had that too tonight. Nick Suzuki, a goal and 2 assists, not too shabby. You know, Cole Caulfield getting his 30th of the season on the power play to start the game off. You know, Juraj Slafkovsky banking one in off a defender. I mean, the game looked like the bounces were going to go the way of the Montreal Canadiens. And for the most part, teams like Buffalo would normally fold up the tent and say, you know what, it's not our night tonight. And they would come out in the second period licking their wounds and really taken advantage of. Credit to Lindy Ruff's coaching, because Lindy is one tough son of a bitch, and he was as a player, and he is as a coach. His team came out and played his type of hockey, where they got in your face, they got in your grill, and they created scoring chances because of it. Not for anything else. You know, you got to credit Greenway for not dropping the gloves with Jack-Eye, because it threw Jack-Eye off for quite a bit in the first period. There's all kinds of things you can look at that Buffalo did extremely well and that Montreal did very poorly, especially in those last 2 periods. Whether you take a look at David Savard being stuck in quicksand on the ice and not being able to move, and whether that's because of injury or just, you know, him, Father Time catching up to Dave, or whether you take a look at some of the mistakes that were being made along the half wall trying to clear the puck. This time around, it wasn't Jake Evans. Jake Evans having a very good hockey game tonight, but there was no secondary scoring or secondary threat at all. I mean, let me bring up the game sheet, right? And I'll take a look here at the event summary. And it'll pretty much line it up for me, okay? Guys with shots on goal tonight. Matheson, 1 shot in overtime. Caulfield, 3. Suzuki, 4. Slavkovsky, 3. Dvorak, 1. Carrier, 2. Newhook, 2. Jacki, 3. Line 1. For a total of 20 shots on goal. Not nearly good enough. Guys with goose eggs. Brendan Gallagher, Josh Anderson, Yoel Armia, not for anything, but Armia missed the net I don't know how many times tonight. Let's take a look here. Armia, Struble, no shots. Hudson, no shots. Heineman, no shots. He's another one that missed the net quite a bit. Savard, no shots. Beck, no shots. Evans, no shots. I mean, that's more than half the team right there. Guys with a goose egg. And so if you want to be able to show that you've got depth on your team and you're not a one-trick pony, you got to have better numbers than that. And so, what's there to say? The Canadiens on the plus side, they're extremely good right now in the faceoff circle. Tonight they were 60%, which is great, but you got to be better at getting those shots off. I mean, you can't go through a hockey game and have 20 shots on goal and expect to win every game. It's not going to happen. Tonight's an anomaly. You got a gift in the first period. Shots were pretty much even at 9-8, and then after that, the door was shut. And, the Sabres were blocking shots. How many blocks did they have tonight? For example, they had 10 block shots, but the Canadiens only had 20 shots on goal total. So you're talking about 30 shot attempts plus what missed the net. I mean, there's a lot to be said about the quality of the Canadiens game tonight. It wasn't very good. And whether it's fatigue, which, it could very well be, or whether it's, guys often check out right before long road trips, right? So you never know. But at the end of the day, the Montreal Canadiens get those very important 2 points. And as we look at the standings right now, the Montreal Canadiens currently are at 65 points. Even with the Ottawa Senators, the Senators with 1 game in hand. Detroit's got 66. So the Canadiens are just a single point out of a wild card spot. The Rangers right now are just outside of that because they have 1 game played more than the Detroit Red Wings, but the Canadiens are right there. But they're not going to be able to maintain that if they don't get better play from the bottom 3 lines. I mean, when's Heineman going to score? I know he got hit by a car. Listen, it doesn't happen to everybody, and who expects it, right? But he was on a heater when he got hit by that car in Utah. So now, since he's been back, he's been effective in getting into plays and getting quality scoring chances and looks, but he's not finishing. Newhook had a couple of goals the other day. We'll put that aside. He scored in back-to-back games. But, Line didn't score tonight, but he did get an assist on, I believe it was it Caulfield's goal? Hang tight. Let me take a look. Where are we? Here we go. No, it wasn't Caulfield's goal. I thought he got an assist, but he didn't. Anyway, I digress. But Line held pointless tonight, but, not for a lack of trying. He did get, a good look on the power play early on. But there's got to be more, man. Gallagher not getting a shot. Anderson, the third line as a whole, didn't get a shot, right? And that's where the game needs to change. The trenches are where hockey games are won, right? Your top lines, some nights they're firing on all cylinders like the Canadiens were tonight. And then other nights they need a little bit of backup support. Tonight was one of those games where, the Sabres slowly but surely crept back into this hockey game. Somebody needed to pop one in. And what the Sabres did, like I said, was they just got in the Canadiens' grill. And when the Canadiens were starting to build a little bit of momentum, right away, the Sabres were starting the physical stuff, and the Canadiens got off their game and were more worried about the physical side of the game as opposed to their scoring touch. So it almost worked for the Sabres. They tied it, Matheson scores in overtime to make it 5 straight wins for the Canadiens. And now they're going to hit the road. Talk about that in our last segment of the show. But take a look at those 11 shots on goal. I mean, I can't. It's a 5.5 shots per period, right? 6 in the second. I think it was right. 6 in the second, 5 in the third. And this is a professional hockey team. This isn't junior hockey. And even in junior hockey, you see more shots. I don't understand how you can only get 6 shots on goal. What exactly are you doing out there? It's not as if the possession numbers were crazy in um, in time of possession when it comes to the Sabres. It wasn't, because the Sabres were attacking off the rush. They did get a couple of chances where they did possess the puck a little bit in the Canadian zone, for stretches of 2.5 minutes, and that's where the Canadiens get in trouble. And it's always in that second period. And when you do get in trouble like that, that's where your players start to get fatigued and they don't get their legs back. I mean, that the lactic acid, when you get it into your legs and they become heavy and hard to move after long shifts like that, 3 minutes isn't enough to really regain any type of mobility. So, and even in the intermission, I mean, you end up cooling down and it doesn't do you any favors. You need to make sure, okay, let me hop on the bike and make sure I keep my legs moving for a bit so I, keep them warm and the lactic acid doesn't take over and cool me down. I don't know if the Canadiens do that. They should. I mean, in certain cases, they absolutely should. But in the intermission, most of the time when you see those pictures of the players, they're sitting there with their shirts off, cooling down and getting ready for the third period, or the second for that matter. And the Canadiens tonight, I mean, there's got to be more to it. It's not, they don't play a bad game. They come into the zone, they stay on the perimeter, and you look where the Canadiens scored from tonight. They weren't on the perimeter. Okay, granted, there was a Suzuki goal game on a 2-on-1. Caulfield and Slavkovsky was on the power play, but the game before against Buffalo, they were most effective because they took care of the middle of the ice. And I will beat that dead horse over and over and over again. If you're not generating offense from the middle of the ice, you're not winning hockey games. The goalies in this league are just way too good. And tonight, the Canadiens didn't generate anything from the middle. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. A lot of the shots that were blocked came from the blue line, right? Whether you take a look at Matheson, or whether you take a look at, Jack-Eye, the list goes on and on. Savard, anytime they try to take a shot from the point, more often than not, they get blocked. Why? Because the Sabres bottleneck the middle of the ice. That's where in the trenches where you win and lose. And so the Sabres were smart enough to be able to get enough players in front of the net to block shots and help James Reimer out, especially with the fact that Reimer's confidence just wasn't there after those 3 goals in the first. So what do? You clog the middle, you come up the ice, you clog the middle in the offensive zone, and you force the Canadiens to play a style of defense that they're not comfortable with. Canadiens like to keep guys on the perimeter. They like to play man in their own zone. They like to keep guys to the outside. When guys get in the middle, especially in clusters, and people lose their coverage, that's what the Canadiens get themselves in trouble. That's where they get fatigued, because guys miss their assignments, they miss where they're supposed to go, and then the puck just stays in the zone a little bit too long. And that's where the game's won and lost. And now the Canadiens almost lost it tonight. But, if you're not going to be engaged as hard as the Canadiens should have been tonight in that middle part of the ice, you're going to lose hockey games. I mean, now that they're going out west, and again, I'll bring that up a little bit later, if you're not playing in the middle of the ice, the 3 teams out west are going to burn you alive. No matter where they are in the standings, it doesn't matter. They're that good. And, whether it's Vancouver, Edmonton, or Calgary, the middle of the ice is where they live, man. They don't play on the outside. They play the same style as Buffalo, where they go from the inside out and back in, and they force you to make plays. And so the Canadiens need to be prepared. And the Canadiens need to clean this up. They can't continuously have bad second periods and expect to continue winning hockey games. Sure, they're in the mix. Right now, they're playing meaningful hockey, and that's great. That's exactly where they want to be. Doesn't mean they're going to make the playoffs, guys. But it means they're exactly where this team and the plan for the rebuild was supposed to have them, which is fine. But if the Canadiens want to really take that step and make the playoffs, and this is up to the players, it's not the administration, it's not the coaching staff, the players are going to have to decide this. Because the coach's job is done right now. The power play is playing very well. The penalty kill is 7th in the league. So you can't besmirch either of those two things. But at 5-on-5, there are some lines that do not play very well and do not generate offense, especially in a game like tonight. The other night, it was a very ugly win against the Sabres as well. They did not play well. So you've got back-to-back games where the Canadiens didn't play well and got points. Hey, listen, it's great. No problem. I'm okay with that. But 11 shots on goal, really, guys? It's got to be better than that. There's got to be a concerted effort from the guys, second, third, and fourth line, not only to generate more shots in the offensive zone, but to also do a better job of getting the puck out of their own zone effectively. A few too many icing calls in the second period cost the Canadiens. They got to get away from that. You got to be moving your feet, skating the puck up, take the hit to make a play. It's an old adage that you hear. Whether it's in hockey, whether it's in football, you take the hit to make a play. And very often the Canadiens don't. They just take the easy road and they flip the puck out and down the ice and it's icing. Now, sure, they're good at the faceoff circle right now. Like I said, 60% on the game tonight. So more often than not, they win. But when you lose those faceoffs in the defensive zone, that becomes problematic. That is where the Sabres could take advantage. That's where other teams could take advantage. So clean that up a little bit and you'll be well off. Now, one of the things that I preach all the time, whether it's, coaching or, as it were, being the director of hockey ops for the Hawkesbury Knights in the USPHL Premier League, one of the things I notice from my players is that they very often let their hotheads take over hockey games. They could have a lead like the Canadiens did tonight, and then the opposing team will start getting in their face and, rubbing a glove in your face or, hitting you with the butt end of their stick or whatever they do in close quarters. And it gets under their skin. And they start to worry more about repercussions and getting back at the player that did that to them than they do actually playing the game. It's a mental part of hockey that people just don't appreciate enough. And tonight was one of those examples where the physicality of the hockey game got the Canadiens off their game plan, right? Even though it bit the Sabres in the ass in the first period because of all the penalties they took. In the second and third period, they didn't deviate from that. They continued to do the same thing over and over and over again. And what happened was the Canadiens started taking penalties, and lo and behold, Buffalo took over the hockey game. You have to make sure when you're out there on the ice that you're not just worried about the X's and O's about execution. You got to worry about the other player and know who you're on the ice with. Greenway is the perfect example. He was in Jack Eye's head all night long, but he didn't have to do anything. Flybys, skate by, Jack Eye trying to grab him, just skate away, stuff like that. And Jack Eye would be there just wanting to grab him and beat him. You saw when Gallagher got pushed in behind Sam Montembeault. Everybody came in, and the Sabres manhandled everybody on the ice. I think it was it Paterka that had a half Nelson on the Borak with his hand behind his head, and he was pushing him towards the ice. And that's a pretty nasty wrestling move right there by Paterka. So, they've got the physical edge on you. The Buffalo Sabres are a big physical team. They're not overly fast. They're not slow, but they're not overly quick. They're very physical, and they don't mind getting in your face and causing scrums after whistles. And that's what the Canadiens really got taken advantage of. If you're going to focus on that part of the game, you're going to get in trouble. And, the Knights, as it were, in the USPHL right now, we're starting the playoffs on Thursday. And they've been told time and time again, be disciplined. Stop. If there's something that goes on and, somebody drops the gloves, okay, fight back. Okay? Unless somebody does you really dirty, don't worry about retaliation. Best retaliation you can have is the numbers on the scoreboard. But, the Canadiens got bullied tonight, and they let the bullies win in the sense that the Sabres got between their ears and got them off their game. That's what teams do. And so the Canadians need to get away from that. They need to make sure that, the shots on goal need to come up, like I said, and their ability to just turn off the noise has to be better. I know we don't like the Sabres. Nobody likes the Sabres. I mean, in Montreal, we absolutely hate them. But Nathan Gerbe's not there anymore. And Jeff Skinner's not there anymore to score goals when we least expect it. Okay? All that old rivalry stuff. The only person that's back for that stuff is Lindy Ruff, right? And Lindy, I love Lindy Ruff. He's a great coach. I love him to death. But it is what it is, right? His team's not very good. He's got a very young, inexperienced team, and he's starting to coach them up, teaching them how to win, despite the fact that they're not where they need to be as far as the skill level is concerned. And so they're doing everything they have to with the game plan that the coach is giving them. Coach is giving them a game plan to get in their face. The one thing that Lindy Ruff does extremely well is chirp at the referees. You don't see him get penalties, but you see him yelling at the refs all the time. Okay? I forget who it was that took the slashing penalty. Where was it? It was Byron. Took the slashing penalty at 8:22 of the first period. And, Lindy Ruff's famous word, that's a joke. You're full of what. He was dropping F-bombs on the bench. He goes, that's fucking shit, is what he said. That's fucking bullshit. Okay. It is what it is. But Ruff's always there chirping. Referee skates by, he'll say a couple of words. He's a veteran coach. All those little things, unless he insults the guy's family, they get into the referee's ear at one point, and then the tables turn. Canadians get a few power plays. Buffalo gets a few more after that. Instead of pulling a Buffalo player out of a scrum, they're going to pull a Canadiens player out of a scrum. What happens? Momentum shifts to the other team. All because the Sabres decided to get overly physical and get the Canadiens involved. Glad this is over with. And the Canadiens swept the season series because I hate playing the Sabres. It's always a trap game. So goodbye, Buffalo, for this season. Hasta luego. Enjoy the golf course. Now, finally, we're going to talk about the dreaded Western Canadian road trip. Starts, when is it? On, let's go. Thursday against the Edmonton Oilers. 9 p.m. Eastern start time. So get it in your calendars, gang. And obviously, the Edmonton Oilers are stacked with talent. Stuart Skinner, good in goal. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman. There's quite a list there in Edmonton. Canadians can skate with him. They always seem to piss off Connor McDavid. So if they make sure they play that style of play where McDavid doesn't get a lot of room, it's going to frustrate him. And when they frustrate him, he's off his game. And when he's off his game, they're nowhere near as good as they can be. And earlier this season, they kept McDavid off the score sheet, and that was a good thing. Now, whether or not they can do it a second time in Edmonton remains to be seen. The Oilers are going to have last change. It's a completely different animal than a home game at the Bell Center against the Oilers. So there's that. Then you're off to Calgary. The Calgary game, that's a more winnable hockey game. But these Western road trips, the one thing is that the teams always get tired. Now, Edmonton to Calgary, it's a short flight. It's not that bad. So, it's not like they're going from San Jose to LA to Anaheim. Anaheim to San Jose to LA, which was really stupid. And getting on a plane 3 times when Anaheim and LA are a 20-minute drive. Do the math. But this is different. Okay. Edmonton and Calgary, it's a short little flight. It's not that far. So, it's not as bad. They can do it same night after the Edmonton game, fly into Calgary, take it from there. The Flames are always a tough out. They play a very tough style of play. They are what they are this season. And the Canadians always have trouble playing at the Saddledome. Whether it's nostalgic, whether it's, the 89 Cup loss to them, I don't know. I doubt that has anything to do with anything right now. But historically, the Canadians don't play well in Calgary. So we'll see what happens. And then there's Vancouver. When the Canucks are as hot and cold as they can get right now after having traded JT Miller and, the whole Brock Besser situation, that team is not in good shape. And, whether they can right the ship, after the trade deadline, we'll see. Thursday's going to be huge. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's Vancouver. Again, another team that gives the Canadiens problems, no matter where we play them. So we'll see what happens. If Elias Peterson manages to get his head out of his butt, maybe the Vancouver Canucks can win a game. But, it's not really where they need to be, right? The Canucks are still struggling. They're still trying to find their identity. They haven't been the same since they got rid of Travis Green, I find, anyway. Uh, Travis Green doing a hell of a job in Ottawa right now, and he was doing a great job in Vancouver. And that's not to say that Rick Tockett's not doing a good job in Vancouver either, but he's not Travis Green. And Tocchet, is one of those old school coaches that coaches, a really different way, whereas Travis Green is a little bit more of a new generation coach. So, those 3 games, they're going to be fun, for lack of a better term. And then we finish off with Seattle. And, Vancouver, Seattle, another short trip. So, they're back to back. So you're going to see Jakub Dobish in one of those 2 games, most likely the one in Seattle and not Vancouver. But, hey, you never know. Then the Canadiens come back for the Saturday the 15th to play against the Panthers. But that Western road trip, that swing through the Canadian Rockies is going to be tough for Montreal. It always is. And so if the Canadiens can at least come away with another couple of points from that trip, I'll be a happy camper. But they need more than that. They need to clean up the mess that they made in these last 2 games where they got away from the way they needed to play and really take advantage of, a couple of teams in Vancouver and Calgary that are not the best teams in the National Hockey right now. So that's it for now. And guys, stay safe out there. Make sure you tell the people you love that you love them, because if you don't, it may be too late. And one day, just like that, they won't be there anymore. Bye for now.